So sit back, relax, grab your smokable of choice, and let's get started.
Alright, we're Smoke Session. Today we're going to be talking about how fast can two Links beat Majora's Mask.
This one was a little bit of a doozy for us.
It was a doozy for him.
Yeah, it was a doozy for me.
First, I'd just like to get this out of the way. I know most people get annoyed when we talk about it, but blow some smoke rings with that subscribe button, maybe leave a comment, leave some likes, you know, the use. So, let's jump back into why we're here. The video took so long because life was happening and we were having technical issues. And every time we'd resolve those technical issues, life would start back up again.
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks for us, but, you know, we finally got around to being able to do it and got everything kind of resolved.
Even though it's been over a month.
Yeah, it took us a little while. We're sorry. But
we had some tech issues, and we'll go over that later in the video again, but as of right now, we'll just give you a brief idea of what was happening. We had recording issues. I had to reseat my microphone before it would work. I had to figure out the correct resolutions and stuff because the application to use Majora's Mask Online was not cooperating with OBS. By the time I figured that out, we had ran out of time. Then I had figured out another solution that works better. The first time we were having problems capturing our footage. The first time it took away audio. The second time it took away the entire video.
yeah, it was just a pain in the butt, but we got it figured out in the end. Okay.
And we had some starting troubles. Every time we'd try to start it, either the videos would mess up, the games would crash, it would freeze, the audio wouldn't sync properly, or we had a handful of problems. In the run we just did, that we actually did finish, Mikey got all topsy-turvy since the beginning of it. My guy here.
Oh, yeah.
He went backwards in the tutorial section, and then it was literal downhill from there, not like it was in OOT where it was getting faster.
Yeah, clearly I had some skill issues going on. But at the very least, we managed to actually get through it and beat it. And we have a few things to say about that.
Alright. With that out of the way, let's just get into the rest of it now. Majora's Mask is a sequel to Ocarina of Time. I know we all know what Ocarina of Time is. We've been here once before. And he was leaving Hyrule to go talk to go find his friend Navi.
Navi the snail.
The one I refer to as Navi the snail, yes. So he was wandering the Lost Woods to do so, when he came across a couple of fairy siblings that were causing trouble in the forest. They jumped him and made him get knocked off his horse, and then a mask appeared with menacing eyes, and its body fully came in the frame like it was a spirit or something, and it finally manifested. And Link was on the ground unconscious because of the force he took. Majora flipped him over and took his ocarina. Link got mad. Majora jumped away. Very agile for going up against somebody who was the hero of time, mind you.
Yeah, Skull Kids are agile.
I wouldn't really call that Skull Kid, though, because in Ocarina of Time, you can actually fight Skull Kids.
Right.
They have death animations, and they give you a golden rupee that, well, displays orange, but it's the biggest rupee in OOT if you can defeat them.
Right.
That was Majora. That was Majora's agility in the body of Skull Kid. Majora had already taken over at that point.
That makes sense.
Link grabbed onto the horse as Majora stole it, and they were riding through the Lost Woods, Link hanging onto Epona's leg. He eventually gets kicked off, and Majora disappears with the horse. You realize that you're in a dead-end corner of the Lost Woods, and you continue in deeper, which leads you down this giant black tunnel.
The tunnel snakes. That's us. And we rule.
Member of Organization 13, Sayax. Got it memorized? Now go save her.
And where you land on a Deku flower, and Majora's standing there, and you're not recognizing your surroundings anymore. And he's telling you that he's gonna do some messed up shit to you. He's gonna mess your soul right up, dude. And then you become one with the Deku. He turns you into a scrub.
It's our worst nightmare.
And from that point on, since you can't go back up, you could try. You could use the Deku Flow with all your might. You ain't getting high enough.
There is no backup. That is too high.
So the only way to progress is forward, as Tattle will tell you, or Tail will tell you, where she sendurily tells you that she's.
勘違いしないで。私、リトのことなんか好きでもなんでもないんだから。
Your responsibility now because reasons.
Yeah, she tried to like stop you from going after Skull Kid and got separated, and now she's your problem now.
So you begrudgingly take her with you because you're used to having fairies by your side. And you go through this whole first section where you have to traverse as a Deku Scrub for the first time, going from Deku Flower to Deku Flower, in a room that seemingly has a bottomless pit at the bottom. And you go from platform to platform, and then you finally come across this wooden statue, it seems, that looks like a Deku Scrub, and then when you check it, it just says he's not moving anymore. So, with that in your mind, you pass on to the rotating tunnel, and you come out into a clock tower, where you find the Happy Mask Salesman. And he explains to you that he lost a mask, and tells you that it was Majora's mask, and you recognize it was the mask he lost in the woods. He somehow recognizes you as a hero, even though that, time reset, he shouldn't really remember that. And he asked you for help.
Yeah, he wants you to get back your precious item, and then get back his precious item, i.e. the mask and the ocarina.
Yeah. And if you can get back one of those things, he'll teach you how to heal yourself. Which, don't you think it'd be more beneficial to heal me first, so I'd be at full power to get back your precious item?
Yeah, that man can pull out an organ from nowhere.
And he teleports.
Yeah. I don't know how he does it.
I wonder what other mask he has on him that has mysticisms. Does the Mario mask transform you into Mario? Is that the end of Mario's journey to come in contact with the Happy Mask Salesman and get turned into a mask?
He stole Mario's soul, dude.
I guess it kind of serves Mario right if you played Odyssey, though. Mario's possessing people in Odyssey.
Yeah, he is. He's throwing his hat at people and takes them over for a bit.
Yeah, at his leisure. But, after that, you have to traverse this new town, this clock town. It's new. It's new, but it's also familiar. Everyone's faces in these towns are faces of people you've met before. But the town's different, the country's different, everywhere you're at is different. But everyone's the same. And from there, you have to go around and figure out what you need to do. You need to go around, you need to collect a fairy, whether that's in the laundry pool or in East Clocktown, depending on the time of day. You gotta go bring the Great Fairy back so she can explain to you that Skull Kid has broken all 5 Great Fairies in the area. And they need your help to bring her back. And you come across the Little Rascal parodies, and you play their game. It's a game of hide and seek. And once you do that, you get a code to go into the Bomber's Hideout. The Bomber's Hideout is a tunnel between buildings that's obviously doesn't have much money to upkeep, that eventually leads you to an observatory.
You look through you go up to the old man and you look into the telescope.
Oh my god, I didn't mean to get this intimate with you.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
Up at the moon, and the moon cries for the second time ever.
If you're lucky, you'll see, after the moon cries, you'll see a Deku Scrub leaving Clocktown. And if you're really lucky and you look a little more to the left, you'll see one of the guys from the Skulltula house waving his arms at you as a little cameo.
Yeah, it's weird, because he's not there normally.
Yeah, you go out there and he's gone. And, I don't know, maybe there's somebody out there who knows what that means, but as of right now, after 20 years, I don't know what that means. But, and then after you do that, you bring the Moonsteer to a Deku Scrub in Central Clock Town, and he tells you that his wife wants a one-of-a-kind item. So you give him the Moonsteer.
Yeah, what a crappy wife.
So you give it to him, and he gives you the deed to his Deku Flower in exchange. The reason why this is important is because you don't really need his home. You only need it for, like, one instance, and that's to go meet Skull Kid for the first time on top of the clock tower. But what the game doesn't tell you is by the time you do all that, you still got 2 whole days to wait.
Yeah, it takes almost no time to actually complete those first prerequisites.
So if you're like us, though, you'll find a man named Piero in the shop.
Oh yeah,
Remember
sure, Mom and
Piero?
Dad. I'll
Yeah,
go to
he's
school,
the one
become a
that kept showing up
psychiatrist.
and over
Now
feeding
look at
the
me, I'm a
Scarecrow
fucking
Man.
scarecrow, and I'm running away.
And he recognizes you. And he talks about about the songs to manipulate time, but you don't have to care about none of that. You already know all that.
Yeah, you don't actually need to get those songs. He just kind of gives them to you as a hint,
Yeah.
so that you can play them. Like if you know them going into the game, you can play those at any time.
But if you're looking to not explore anything and just, how fast can you complete Majora's Mask, you talk to him and you dance with him all night. And you dance with him until morning, and then you dance with him all night, and then you dance with him until morning until he says he can't dance no more.
Yeah, by then, you got about 6 hours remaining.
You got about 12 hours remain.
Or 12 hours?
6 hours until, the clock tower opens,
yeah,
and then
6
another
hours
6 hours until the moon crashes.
Yeah.
But he's right. In about 6 hours, the Festival of Time starts, and everyone's like, woo, the Festival of Time! And then they're also like, oh my god, there's impending doom, the moon's gonna crash into us.
And at this point, there's, nobody in town, so I'm wondering who's, opening the clock tower and whatnot, or if it's, set to some kind of a timer.
It's set to some kind of a timer that it opens every year on the Festival of Time. They told you that.
Okay, fair enough.
And you go in and you confront Skull Kid, and Skull Kid makes fun of you. He's like, I didn't expect you to make it this far. And what do you think you're gonna do? And so you should just not bubble at him. You literally just hit him with your bodily fluids. And he's so flabbergasted, he drops the ocarina. He's not even angry or upset. He's just confuzzled and disgusted that you would do this.
Infinitely kerfuffled.
So you run up and grab the ocarina real quick, and you're like, oh man, Zelda, my best friend, I finally remember her. Finally remember her.
All your memories come flooding back to you.
As soon as you touch the ocarina, you know in your heart that you can play the Ocarina of Time. You can play the Song of Time. And you're like, man, oh man, do I have a prize for you. And you play the Song of Time, and for the first time it takes you back in time to the dawn of the first day. And then the Happy Mask Salesman knows you went back in time again. Knows you saw the Skull Kid, and calls you out for it. And then he's like, I see you got your precious item back, but did you get my mask? And he basically strangles you when you don't get it, screaming in your face about how he needs that mask.
Remember, the Happy Mask Salesman never stops smiling, even when he's angry.
That's true. And then he finally concedes and calms his happy self down. And then he pulls out a giant organ that my guy was talking about earlier. And then he teaches you the Song of Healing, where you play the Song of Healing for the first time and realize that I just put a Deku soul into the mask that was also my soul, and then you have a mental breakdown about that.
Yeah, which, gains you the Deku mask.
You're able to transform a Deku Scrub anytime you want now.
And as far as I can tell, it is quite painful.
As you will see, the first animation is him losing his goddamn mind.
For the furious scream.
I think my game system just farted at me. It is then you find out about the four giants. 100 steps to the north, 100 steps to the south, 100 steps to the east, and 100 steps to the west. They occupy the four regions of Termina. But the reason that they're not here to help with the moon is because I'm unclear whether it was Skull Kid or natural occurrence. But in each four regions, there are four giant monsters that have taken over the region and changed them to their own design. And before the giants can help you, the threats of these four areas have to be taken out. You have to prove that you defeated them by collecting their remains.
And each remain that you collect, the giants decide that they're going to help you.
Odd Waldo, I'll forever call him Odd Waldo. He's the boss of the Woodfall Temple. He is like an old Aztec warrior, or an old tribal warrior at the very least, and he's here to defend his home front and his poisonous land that he created in his own design. Goat is literally just a giant robotic goat that took over the mountain.
And made everything snowy.
I'm not sure if it's snowy or the ash coming from him.
Well, wouldn't ash be darker than snow?
Well, they talk about how nuclear winter had the same resemblance as winter.
I mean, that's fair.
But, and then in the ocean, you meet a Zora named Macau, and he's dying. And you play the healing song for him, and you turn his soul into a mask, and then you go around to the pirate's fortress and collect his children.
Yeah.
After getting the hook shot. He has 7 eggs in total that he had with the lead singer of his band, Lulu. Lulu's depressed because she doesn't have her children back. Well, that was easy. But as the plot of the game demands, it's only a side quest to bring her children back to her for some reason. So you have to do the inhumane thing, and you have to go collect all 7 eggs, 4 of which are in the pirate's fortress because they were told that they could sell for a hot commodity. You ever think to yourself sometime like, yo... 3 of which are at Pinnacle Rock, which you need a picture of a female pirate to get from the seaside shack. Once you bring him back to Pinnacle Rock, he'll show you how to get to Pinnacle Rock, the seahorse that is. And down there are 3 more Zora eggs lost within the tunnels. And then you finally bring them back. You know, you think you'd be a good person and bring them back to Lulu, and they would still teach it the new way of Bossa Nova. But nope, that only results in a heart piece. So what you have to do for the main plot is you have to bring them to the research facility, so they'll probably be experimenting on or fed to the fish while you're gone. But once they hatch and you transform into Macau, they teach you a song. It's called the New Wave Bossa Nova. And you use that to, at Zora Cape in front of Lulu, knowing that she has connection to that song, to summon the giant turtle to take you to the Great Bay Temple.
And that also allows Lulu to speak again. Because the lady at the Lakeside Lab tells you that you have to play the song for the Zora that birthed them, or that laid the eggs.
And still, do they not give her children back after she realizes they're alive?
Yeah.
So you go through the topsy-turvy water temple of this game, which is slightly better than OOT's in my opinion. And the item you get there is the ice arrow. You fight some unique bosses there. Then at the end, you gotta fight the worst boss in the entire Zelda series, Gorg. He's a giant carnivorous fish.
And he has no qualms about trying to eat you during the fight, or knocking you off the platform into the water so that he can eat you, or, you know, having babies right in front of you. They take a lot of hearts if they actually get you.
If you use Zora magic when they surround you, they die instantly, though.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't have magic, you might be a little out of luck on that one.
There's 4 magic pots around, so you'll be able to grab it because they should all have big magic jars in them.
Yeah.
Mikey doesn't like to grab resources during the fight, though. Not until he's absolutely out of them.
And I had magic. Like when I actually died in the run, I was like actively trying to climb up, and like they came up and they just hit me a bunch of times.
The official way to fight Gorg is to shoot him with an arrow as a Hylian, and then you dive in the water with Zora and hit him with Zora magic, and then rinse and repeat until, well, He's dead.
It can be a little bit tedious because it takes quite a number of hits to hit him.
Yep.
And sometimes you lose track of him.
Because they swim so fast. And then after that, after you get the remains there, now you finally have 3 whole giants on your side, and you're like, man, I'm actually making some real progress in this. And this might actually be doable now. And then you realize the next place to go is to the east, the Valley of Death, the Stone Tower. So you head there and realize there's a specter on top of the cliffside telling you that you need to look a certain way to get in there. So you have to roam around trying to find the Garo's Mask, which you'll probably end up going to the place right to the left of the specter first, which is the Akana Graveyard, where you play the Sonata of Awakening that you give for the swamp, and you fight a giant skeleton warrior. He's running around and he puts himself behind fireballs and he makes little style children for you to fight while you're doing that. The object is for you to stun him, destroy the style children, and run up. It makes it a lot easier if you have the bunny hood at that time, because once he targets on you and starts aggroing you, he'll aggro you for the rest of the fight and none of the firewalls will activate anymore. Unless he gets too far away. It was me you were looking for.
Yeah, there are 2 ways to complete that. You can either beat him in the race,
He gets to see the other
but to do that you have to defeat a bunch of stout children and get further than him. So it's usually just easier to fight him.
Which is how I was going to do it, but Mikey was so behind during his run that I didn't have the Gilded Sword, so that wasn't an option for me. Good.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm not really all that great at this game.
So I was trying to do it with the Kokiri sword, and it takes at least 2 spin attacks to destroy them. With the Gilded Sword, it takes 1, so you can just bap him and move on. But with the extra time it has with the Kokiri sword, you're not winning that race.
No.
Because he can walk right through the firewalls even if you're ahead of him, and you'll lose all your progress, and he'll be 3 firewalls ahead, and you'll be not even halfway there.
Yeah, you can stun him by shooting arrows at him for a second, which could buy you a little bit of time in order to at least catch up with him.
Yeah, but it's easier to actually fight him in that regard.
Yeah.
This is why you're
And winning this
This is why you died in battle.
grants you the captain's hat.
But only after you let him go at ease, because you're the only soldier that was able to beat him. I think that's important. And you're the only soldier that's been able to beat him, and he's been asleep all this time waiting for somebody that could best him, somebody that he could trust to carry on his mission. And that you finally put him at ease, soldier, with one last salute, and he finally goes off into the afterlife. Then you get granted the captain's hat, so you can command the Stout Child to do your bidding. Which, if you're lucky enough to do it on the first night, you can enter the first grave. Which you
Fucking
have to do
assholes.
for completion.
I don't want to have to tell you again.
The first grave, you go in and you fight a whole nest of keys.
But I'm the king
There's a whole
around
big
here.
blob of them. After you complete that, you gotta light 3 torches. Then after you light 3 torches, you can go into the next room, the bars lift, and you can go fight an Iron Knuckle. Once completing the Iron Knuckle, you get met with a composer brother. Then he tells you the history of the Song of Storms. What are you looking over for? You look so concerned.
Yep. I believe it's flat. I was
It's flat?
Yeah.
Yeah, Flat teaches you about the history of the Song of Storms, and then he disappears. And once he disappears, you can learn the Song of Storms from the actual gravestone. What, are you gonna start
Yep, he asked you to play this song for his brother Sharp.
And then come back?
Yeah, start the first part. I'll go fight Goat, and then I will.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. If you ever meet him, you just need the Goron's Mouse.
I'll do the race.
After completing the Great Bay Temple and doing that, you need to find your way up to Stone Tower. And to do that, as I explained before, you need to find the Garo Mouse.
And the Garo Mask is in probably one of the last places you look. So, to get the Garo Mask, you have to go all the way back to the southern part of the field in Termina. And you have to go down the Milk Road. Taking a path left off the Milk Road will lead you to the
Gorman
Brothers. If you bring your horse with you during the day and they're out there, they will allow you to race them for 10 rupees. All you gotta do is beat them to the end, 1 lap around. Do that, and they will decide if they even want to give you anything for winning. but they will grant you the Gara's mask. Why they have it, I do not know.
They just found it one day, I'm pretty sure.
That makes sense.
I think they just picked it up off the ground and it is neat. After awarding the Gara's mask, you go back to the Spectre, and you'll probably be like me my first time when you put on the captain's hat, and he'll be like, you don't look good, dude. So then, like, you walk away for a minute and you put on the Gara's mask, and you come back, and he's like, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
I was pretty sure that there was another mask you do that with, but I can't remember which one.
Yeah, there are. And the coding's kind of weird for that, too, because the only two other masks you can do that with are ones you get in Icona.
Oh yeah, you can do it with the Gibdo mask. And you can do it with the... Is there another mask you can do it with? Which one?
I don't have...
I think it's just the Gibdo mask.
Then yeah, it's just the Gibdo mask for now. And once you finally get up on Icona, the first time you have to freeze two Octoroks. And they turn into ice blocks, and you can hop across to the next part, and then you can hookshot from tree to tree to get up top. Then you can activate the owl statue so you can use the Song of Storing to teleport back. From there, you realize that the water in this place has disappeared. And there's a music box that keeps the Gibdos calm. So you think that's weird, and you start investigating. You find there's another great fairy here that's been broken down to pieces again. You're like, okay, same old song and dance, I guess. And then you find another cave in the back behind the music box house.
Once you enter the cave, which looks very kind of dead inside, with all this fog, like purple fog floating around.
It's the fumes from the poisonous water.
And a ghost appears. You're actually met with Shark, the other composer brother. And he decides to play the Melody of Death for you in the cave. Of course, if you leave, you can survive, but if you stay in there, your life energy will just keep dropping until it hits 0.
It's either a quarter of a half a heart apiece, and it takes a little while if you have over 10 hearts.
Yeah.
So he's just staring at you while you're dying.
So, what you need to do is, well, you might decide first to play the Song of Healing for him. Because he's cursed and he might need healing, but that doesn't work. Instead, what you're supposed to do is play the Song of Storms for him. There's a Song of Storms has the ability to heal curses. Which, fun fact, if you get hit and cursed by one of the floating skulls that are floating around, you can actually play the Song of Storms to relieve it. And that will purify him, and of course, that will also return the water.
The water that he's been hoarding in this cave and poisoning.
And he will thank you for breaking his curse. And go off to what I assume is the afterlife.
The afterlife, because he's already a ghost.
Afterlife, yeah.
He passed on, somehow.
Again.
Yeah. Then you find out that the music box house that you saw in the beginning is now operable because the water's now rotating the water wheel. I'm just happy that I go to the swamp. I can purchase.
And that creates probably the most annoying song in the game.
It's better than most of the songs you like.
Wow. Okay.
I think the most annoying part of the game is what comes after this. What comes right after this.
So next. So now that you have that song playing, the Gibdos disappear. They freak out and sink into the ground.
I bet at this point in the video, y'all are wanting us to go back and talk more about Clocktown so we can make a joke to tell you that you're not a deck scrub.
What the dog doing?
I'd also like to ask what the dog's doing, but y'all probably know where this is going. Much like the Ice Cavern, we're about to embark on our second one-player bottle adventure.
Oh, what a doozy.
But not before you have to enter the music box and heal the Gibdo that's inside.
And to do that, you have to essentially wait for the little girl to exit the house so that it's unlocked.
You're supposed to wait for her to leave the premises by going up the hill. But, much like the Pirate's Fortress, if you slip on the stone mast real quick, you can just slip right in the door right behind her.
You go down into the basement and you open up a cupboard, revealing a half-man, half-Gibdo.
So this time you actually play the Song of Healing, and you would be correct. Except this time when you heal him, it doesn't turn the Gibdo into a transformation mask. It turns the Gibdo into a regular mask and turns the man back to normal.
And he can finally reunite with his daughter in what is probably the sweetest scene in the game.
Guy's name I don't remember reunites with his daughter Pamela.
Well, one of the sweetest scenes in the game. Now, there's another one that is just as sweet.
And that is?
That comes way later.
Now it is really time for us to embark.
I was going to say when you get the couple's mask.
Oh, okay. Now it is time for real. It is time for the teaser to come true. We are actually embarking on the one-player bottle adventure of Majora's Mask, the bottom of the well. And if you were expecting it to be like Ocarina of Time, guess what? So was I. I would have wished it was like Ocarina of Time. I would have loved a new side dungeon, but no. We got Gibdos asking for stuff on the map. They want 5 magic beans. 3 of them want bugs. 1 of them wants a fish. 1 of them wants a big pose. 1 of them wants milk. 1 of them wants 10 Deku Nuts. 1 of them wants 10 bombs. And you gotta figure out after all these 13 Gibdo what the correct path is to get to the other side of the well.
And trust me, if you're playing this for the first time and didn't have a strategy guide or the internet, it would take a while to complete this. Even with the strategy guide or the internet, it probably took you a while to figure it out.
Especially trying to figure out the path. And you could have a picture of the map right in front of you and still mess it up.
Yeah, it is not a simple portion of the game, especially to get a big Poe.
But the big Poe's in the well.
The big Poe is in the well.
You just have to go through like 6 rooms of rigmarole before you're even allowed to enter the arena.
Yeah, it is such a pain in the rear.
But once you get on the other side, past all these treacherous traps, there's the logs from OOT that create traps that have to be perfect, reminiscent of the Resident Evil 4 laser puzzle. And after you get past all that, all the flaming keys, all the Deku Baba, all the Gibdos, all past the Big Poe, you get to a room with 4 torches, and now you're thinking to yourself, I miss Ocarina of Time. I wish I had Din's Fire, but you don't have none of that.
Din's
So
Fire
you shoot all 4 torches with the fire arrow. And I know what people are going to tell me. Well, you could light 1 torch with the fire arrow and pull out a Deku stick. Yeah, well, I had a certain number of sticks that I kept losing through transitions because the fastest. That's the reason we're here. And
there's the mirror shield chest.
once you light those torches, you are granted with a beam of light in the middle of the torches and a chest that spawns. Once you open the chest, you have this game's mirror shield that has a face of a man screaming on it. But you can use it to guide your way. You can shine a light at the light block, and then once that disappears, you can climb up there, and boom. Now you've got access to the Iconic Castle.
I did it last time.
Yeah, the Iconic Castle was probably one of the cooler parts of the game, in my opinion.
The Iconic Castle is frustrating. If you actually look at it, yeah, Lord's cool. Fighting the bosses is cool. But literally, you go in and you're met with 4 redeads and 2
doing the
frozen
monster
ice
mash.
witches.
It was a good god
And not even a
smash.
beam of light, the room's dark. You could either go left
I
or
just hate
right
the fact that I have
by
to leave here to
unfreezing the
come back
respected
later.
ice switches. If you go right, you're granted with a shadow hand and realize I can't progress this way. So you go to the other side where the floor is falling, not unlike in the Forest Temple, where the roof is falling to the floor.
Yeah.
And you have to stop in the middle to get into a Deku Flower, so when the floor falls, you can jump back up and bring it back up, but that won't let you fly high enough. You're going to have to jump back down and dive back in, just so you can have enough height to get on the platform, because there's a yellow switch on the platform. Then you're going to take your mask off so it comes down, and then either you're going to do one or 2 things. Either you're going to chicken out and try to go back to the beginning, where you're ultimately going to get hurt worse, or you're going to do the right move and jump on top of the falling ceiling, and let the hurt animation guide you into the free space before the door progression.
So, So is that how you get to the roof? That
Yeah.
was lucky.
You go through there. There's another room. You got to go past more of the undead. And then you go up. Then you can go upstairs. And upstairs is on the roof. Then once you're on the roof, you realize you're on the right side of the roof. Then you gotta climb up on the siding, go around, hop down on top of the awning in front of the front door, use the Deku Flower, get on 2 pillars in front of the front entrance. And then you can hit the golden switch out there, which only moves a block and still doesn't give you access in. At that point, you gotta jump down and go back to the beginning. This time, you gotta go into the right door from the entrance, where the shadow hand was.
Yeah.
Now there's a light in there, so you can shine light on him and destroy him. And then you can shine light at the block, which again, you're granted with 4 redeads. And then you go past them and you can go upstairs. You go upstairs and you go through a room that just basically has enemies in it. And then you come out of a door, and then you're on the right side of the roof now. You're in that little fenced-in space now.
Gotcha.
No. Oh, and if it's your first time playing, you're going to be real frustrated, because when you walk out there, you're going to realize that there's a spot on the ground that's cracked, and you're going to place 2 bombs there, 3 bombs there, maybe even 1 bomb there, and realize it's not enough, and you have to go figure out how to get the powder keg. Which, if you didn't set the stuff back up all the way in Snowhead, good luck.
Yeah, well, usually by this point, you would have had to have gone to Milk Road to get Epona in the first place. So you'd at least be able to buy a powder keg.
Yep. Then you gotta bring it all the way back up there and place it on that, just so when it bombs, you can hop in that hole it made and realize you're back in the first room.
Yep. And then at this point, you can finally use your mirror shield to gain access to the boss of this little section.
Yep, in the back of the first room you enter, there's a
the
block
light
that
also
you can
affects the
shine
readings.
light at it, and it evaporates when you do that, and then you can walk right into the boss room. Upon doing so, the undead soldiers appear, and they're like, "You should be in my throne room. The war never ends." And then they close the curtains and then decide they're gonna fight you in the dark. Which most people don't know this, but just shoot the curtains with the fire arrow.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta shoot them with the fire arrow, and then you can shine light at the undead warriors, and only then can you actually hit them.
Sort of. That's not true.
Allow me to
You can always
shed
hit
some
them,
light
but
on
they
this
block.
situation.
You have to get behind them or hit them on the side. All shining the light does until you make them fall is stun them.
Okay, I thought you couldn't defeat them without,
Yeah, I'm getting to that. The first leg of the fight is to knock them
Now
down.
I gotta hit them in the middle.
And once you knock them down, after you hit them
Hitting
like
them
3 or
with
4 times
before that
with the
only
Gilded
stuns them.
Sword, if you have it at that point, then when they're lying on the floor, you shine light on them and their body evaporates. But hitting them in that first section is only to knock them down. The light only stuns them.
A melted corpse is a melted corpse.
Gotcha. Okay.
Then you do that for the 2 soldiers, and then you eventually fight the king, where he's a lot harder. He takes like 4 or 5 hearts per hit when he hits you. And you eventually knock him down and do the same thing. And then, for some reason, these undead skeletons become ghosts.
They become ghosts, and then the king talks about how he can finally be laid to rest, but before doing that, he's going to teach you a song.
He's going to teach you a song because he figures where you're going next is Stone Tower, and that's where his war was fought. Presumably against the Garo, actually.
Fair enough.
The Garo also might be invaders from another dimension.
Which is very strange to think about. They did have some very strange magic.
Yeah. And there's a portal in the Stone Tower upside down. That apparently changes depending on the phases of the moon.
Interesting.
Not in-game, but in lore.
Yeah.
And, you get the Elegy of Emptiness, which allows you to work your way up Stone Tower. There are switches that move blocks, and you gotta place your carbon copies on these switches in the respective forms to be able to gain access to the top. Once you do and gain access to the top, you'll be granted with the final dungeon of the game, the Stone Tower.
Now, the Stone Tower is cool. It can be a little bit confusing if you haven't played it recently. But you kind of work your way through it, and they make you use all of your transformation masks in different rooms, which is one of the reasons I think it's one of the cooler dungeons.
He's right, but there's a little twist, too. Because in the first half of the stone tower, right side up, the regular one, you use your 3 transformations mask to get across, and then you get the boss key and the light arrow. Then you have to come back and make it upside down. And upside down, you also have to use all your transformations to get across, but it's in a different order than you had to do it in the first time. And there's more focus on Deku in the upside down.
Yeah, well, because I guess in the upside down, you're trying not to fall at the sky.
Yeah.
Like I said, they have some very strange magic. You shoot a
Scarab, and it's a red magic gem.
With a light arrow, and that flips the whole world
Upside down.
upside down.
And they make you utilize this multiple times in the upside down portion, so you can make things right side up to solve certain puzzles.
So turn the whole world upside down.
Like the block room, where you have to make
However
things
that works.
upside down
Yeah.
and right side up like 3
Some kind
times
of
before you
crazy
get the block in the hole.
The sky's on the floor, and the floor's in the sky.
Eventually, you make your way back, and
Which is
you
interesting.
get access to the
Wow.
boss room.
Yeah.
And that boss room, you have to fight Twin Mold. 2 giant, I like to think they're flying centipedes.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what they are.
And that's why they're called Twin Mold. And yes, I know. If you like the joke as much as I do, one of them's just a mold. They're mold. And you get the, before you enter the boss room, you get the Giant's Mask.
So, you use the Giant's Mask to grow huge in the boss room, and I'm pretty sure this is only usable there. And you go around and you'll be able to slice them up, and you gotta like slice their tails, and take them out one by
You
one.
can slice them in the head too.
Oh, you can slice them in the head.
Yeah, I was doing that.
Yeah, you slice
only
them
their
either
heads and
the,
tails.
The tail or the head. If you have the razor sword, it's a lot easier because you do way more damage.
Actually, if you have the
I'm
gilded
sorry,
sword.
the gilded sword. And yeah, you just gotta beat them up one by one. The Giant's Mask uses magic, so be quick.
Or destroy things in the area to make sure magic spawns.
Yeah, that too. Sometimes they'll destroy things and you can collect the magic for it. Or if you... I think you can run around and destroy things too, because you're huge. But, yeah, once you finally beat them, then you get Twin Mold's remains.
The set of remains is finally complete. You have completed the terror and got the giants to work for you. In the favor of saving everybody. Now there's only one thing left to do. We had to stop all the ghosts that were coming through.
Here to fight for me and you.
No, we actually got to go to the clock tower and fight Skull Kid this time. It's on. We're bringing the fight to
You
his
won't see
home.
me. Because next time,
Yep, so
I'll
you
be
take it back to the
deadly
clock
serious
tower
next
at
time.
midnight on the 3rd day.
never mind.
And you enter. Now, when you beat Alduado for the first time, he teaches you, the giant teaches you a song. It's called the Oath to Order. You play this in order to summon the giants, and they will come and they will essentially catch the moon as it is falling, which is great. The day is saved,
Come on,
right?
Andrew, we don't have
Yeah,
all
not
night.
so much.
Majora saw this coming, though, because he was reading the Skull Kid's memories. He was like, I knew these motherfuckers were gonna come and stop the moon. I knew it as soon as I looked at you, bro. And Link's like, you're dumb. You're a child. You're a dumb child. And he's like, does not matter. And he leaves the Skull Kid's body, returning the essence all to the mask, and gets sucked up by the moon, and presumably becomes the moon.
Yeah. The moon's eyes light up, and it becomes twice as scary. The mouth opens up, and
It's
he says,
already open at that point.
and he says, "I must consume." And then this like beam of light shoots down, assuming
It's a wind tunnel.
Yeah, I assume it's like consuming things, or it's supposed to break stuff down bit by bit and let the moon consume it.
Yeah, it's a
I'm
wind
not
tunnel
really
he's
sure.
sucking in.
Anyway,
Come
so
on.
Link, being the smarty that he is, decides to jump in it. Gets sucked right into the moon's mouth.
And then you find yourself in the most surreal place in this entire
We are
game. It's an
on the
open
moon.
field with one giant tree.
Final stretch, boys.
Near the giant trees, there are...
Tree.
Near the giant tree, sorry, there are 5 kids, 4 of which are running around, and 1 of which is sitting under the tree. Each of them will be wearing a mask. The four running around are wearing all the masks for the remains of the bosses that you defeated. The one sitting under the tree, however, is wearing Majora's mask.
And this is where you start to see a little insight into Majora's mind. With each trial you complete, you probably want to do it Windfall, Snowhead, Ocean, and then Stone Tower. You know, the way you progress through the game.
Right.
And each time you do, you get a little more knowledge on Majora based on the questions they're asking you. And they're not asking you silly little questions either. They frame it like a kid's game, but they ask you questions about your true self, the one behind the mask.
Yeah, it becomes very meta,
Yeah.
actually, at this point. I mean, I guess you find out more so that it seems like Majora's a little more insecure and doesn't really know what it wants.
He has the powers of a god, but he's got the mentality of a child. He, in fact, is like Skull Kid, lonely.
So each one, if at this point, hopefully you've collected all the masks throughout the game. There's 24 total masks.
If you haven't, you're in for a bad time.
So each one will ask you for anywhere from 1 to 4 masks in order to do their trial. Once you complete their trial, then they will ask you for, again, 1 to 4 masks. And so by the end of it, you will be left with only your 3 transformation masks. At this point, your only choice left is to go talk to the Majora Child. The Majora Child will make a comment as to how you don't have any masks, and will give you one. The Fierce Deity mask.
Which, it's really weird that he has it, which is why I like the interpretation, and it is said in certain parts of the lore that the reason Majora has that mask is because him and Fierce Deity were destined to do battle forever, but one day forever came, and there was a victor. It was Majora.
Yes.
But I don't think he wanted to lose that fight, and you remind him of the Fierce Deity, which is why he gave it to you. It's one last good guy versus bad guys game.
So Link dons the power of the Fierce Deity and transforms, being granted a very long and twisty-like sword.
It's a double helix.
A double helix sword that gives you the ability to shoot like laser beams.
And he's got white hair. He's like 8 foot tall, maybe 10 foot tall. He's got no pupils, and he's got face markings. And his clothes are reminiscent of those of the Hero of Time, but in a different color.
Yeah, honestly, a really cool transformation, really. So, if at this point you don't have the Fierce Deity mask, because he only gives it to you when you give up all the masks, and to do that you have to go do all the main mask quests, then you will have to fight him, which is possible, of course.
But you're gonna have to utilize every transformation and have a mind for strategy to do it.
Yeah, that battle is not the easiest way to go about it. But, of course, if you have the Fierce Deity mask, it really is not that difficult. You just keep shooting him with the beams and he goes down. I guess one of the best ways to do this is to get the Chateau Romani sometime before the end of the game, because that gives you, like, infinite magic for, like, all the 3 days. Like, if you get it, like, start of the cycle somehow. Can you buy that at the milk bar? I don't know if you can. It just lets you have infinite magic. Usually,
After you do the Romani quest, you can.
yeah, so that's probably what it is. And then, you can end the game that way.
Come on. Leave me alone,
Fairly
boys.
simple.
I already killed all of you.
Defeating Majora gets rid of the moon entirely. It, like, evaporates.
Yeah, but all 4 phases of his fight. Majora's Mask, Majora's Incarnation, I think it's only 3 phases. Majora's Incarnation, and Majora's Wrath. You're slowly going through the different parts of Majora's psyche during this fight. The mask, the front he puts on for others, that is, he puts it like you do. That's why you have to wear a mask too, you're just like me. Majora's Incarnation, the part of him that was him. And the last one you fight is his Wrath, when everything finally breaks down and all he has is anger. Just like that last fight he had with the Fierce Deity.
Yeah, this game has a lot of themes revolving around, the psychological, basically just revolving around, like, the psychological things that I guess we all kind of go through. It's one of the biggest themes in the game. They're always wearing masks. You collect masks of what are essentially dead people. The Goron mask is Darunia. You play the song of healing for him, and you take over kind of his role as the Goron hero. Going as far as to convince people that you never even died. It's really just the mask, though, and that's what people see.
I do like that concept of portraying in the game, and I do like how Majora tries to relate with you on that front, because Majora's little NPCs, the ones that are wearing the remains, when you go there, because you have to utilize each transformation. It's the 3 transformations, Deku, Goron, and Zora, and then the last one's just you. And at the end of each time, when you're trying to go back to the moon to go back to the next section, if you talk to them wearing a transformation mask, they go, "I'm not talking to you until you show me your true face."
Yeah, in order to take their trials, you have to be you.
And then after that, after you defeat Majora, that's it. You start a dawn of a new day. The world's been saved. The giants finally take Skull Kid back and talk to him and become his friend again. The moon gets put back. It still has a face.
Does it get put back or does it disappear?
I mean, it definitely moves very fast.
Okay.
It goes back in the sky. They kind of need a moon.
Fair.
Everyone's having a good time at the Festival of Time now that they can. And depending on what you've done throughout the game, it may or may not add to the credits.
Yeah, just one of those interesting dynamic things that they added. So, that's kind of the game in a nutshell. I like how each segment has, different sections and kind of things that you have to do, like prerequisites that you have to meet in order to actually get to the dungeon. In the swamp, you have to save one of the witch sisters.
You have to save Komei.
You have to save Komei by getting a red potion from her sister Kotake. And then you have to help out the monkeys by going in and talking to the monkey that's been captured by the Deku King.
Oh yes, my little Mitos.
yeah, they're always blocking your path for some reason.
And they have the same curved thing as Mito does when he blocks your path.
Yeah, they do. So, completing the Deku Palace and returning the princess allows you to free the monkey. And that also grants you access to the Mask of Sense, where you erase the butler. You find out that the Deku Mask is actually the transformation of the Deku Butler's son. After, presumably, Skull Kid killed him.
Actually, that's what he thinks.
That's why I said presumably.
Because you also see that he finds the soul of his son in that tutorial area.
Right.
That the Deku transformation mask is actually when Majora twisted your soul and made you one with the Deku. That part of what he turned you into is what turns into the mask.
Right.
But he don't know none of that, though. He wasn't there for that, so.
And to get into Snowhead, you have to heal Darunia after getting the Lens of Truth and climbing up the mountain. And then you go back and find out that the Goron Elder's son is crying. You go find the Goron Elder as Darunia, and he teaches you the first part of a lullaby to put his son to sleep. The son teaches you the second half, which grants you access to Snowhead.
They tell you it's the second half. It's 2 buttons.
Yeah.
Which also, you're like healing these people's tragedies as you go, too. Because he's right. But one of the things I did want to discuss is that that's how Darunia died. Or not Darunia. Darmani.
Darmani. His name is Darmani.
And, he got blown off by the giant Goron of Snowhead and died that way. Which is kind of you carrying on his will to play the Goron's lullaby and calm him and go deal with the problems in the Snowhead Temple, which is what Darmani wanted. And Macau, when you heal him, he was on a quest to find his children, but he got roughed up by the pirates.
Yeah, so, you're kind of going around and solving a lot of different people's problems within all this. And the game even gives you a notebook to help you keep track of it. of everything that you've done.
Yeah, if you do the Bomber's quest line.
I mean, that's true.
Alright, and that seems to be an overview of Majora's Mask. Now let's talk about everything that goes into completion.
Okay. So, when you're playing this with 2 players, it's not... It's a little hard to have both of you doing the story. Because at certain points, there's going to be, you know, one person trying to get certain things done, and it's very much kind of in order. So...
You're kind of in the other person's way.
Yeah. So, you know, while one person's going and setting up prereqs, then, you know, someone else might be running around and doing side quests, which I think is probably the best way to really do all this, is to have, you know, one person doing the side quest and the other person doing the main story. Maybe you switch off at some points. Who knows?
And since for the run that we were doing with all masks, we had to consider all side quests that give you masks and all main quests that give you masks.
Right.
And we had to, of course, deal with the stuff that brings you closer to the plot, even side things like the Song of Storms.
Yeah. I don't know if the Song of Storms is really a side thing. You kind of, it's necessary to complete the game.
Yeah, but Icon is a side section, is more so what I mean. It's off to the side. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it, but it's still part of the main quest.
Yeah, but Icona Graveyard is literally to the side of Icona.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of, in order to collect everything, you have to really explore around.
I was right.
Like, to get the stone mask, you have to use the lens of truth to look in a rock circle over near Icona, or over near the graveyard.
No, it's near Icona. It's right next to where the Spectre is.
It's kind of in that little area.
Yeah.
In order to find a fallen soldier, and then you got to bring him a red potion in order to return him normally, gives you the stone mask. That makes completing the Pirate's Fortress much easier, because they can't see you.
And later, the music box, so Pamela doesn't see you.
Right. Yeah, you get the Berman mask by talking to the...
Goro!
Goro, the music box man.
Yeah.
And he, you know, essentially tells you about how he got screwed over by a dog. If we want to know what the dog doing.
Yeah, that's the question I proposed earlier. We finally had an answer. You thought I was talking about Richard. Was not talking about Richard this time. Or Richard's doppelganger in Termina. I was talking about what the dog doing. The dog was wearing the Bremen mask, leading the entire circus, and Goro got mad and stole it. That's what the dog be doing.
Or there's the cafe quest, which grants you a couple of masks if you complete it.
Which most people think is a homosexual relationship, which is actually pretty hetero.
Oh, yeah. No, it's great, because Cafe gets turned into a kid, and hides away, which makes everybody think that he went missing, so you gotta go talk to his mama in order to get the Cafe mask.
He got Detective Conan.
And then you have to go talk to Anju, who is Cafe's lover, and she tells you to meet her in the kitchen, which then she gives you a letter that's going to be mailed to Cafe, which, because I guess the postman knows where he's at.
Well, the postman was one of the 2 people he trusted, that and the Curiosity Shop owner.
That's fair.
Because he's staying in the back lot of the Curiosity Shop.
That's fair. So the postman delivers that, and then you finally get to talk to Cafe. That's where he explains that he was turned into a child by Skull Kid, which gets you the pendant of memories, which you then return to Anju, which allows you to go back the next day to the back of the Curiosity Shop, where the Curiosity Shop owner gives you the Keaton mask that Cafe was wearing.
Because Cafe no longer needs to hide his identity behind a mask.
And then you take the letter and you give it to the postman on the final day, who will deliver it to Mama, where he feels like his quest is finally done after having a mental breakdown. Because, you know, there's one letter that he can sniff out, apparently, that has been undelivered.
He felt it in his soul.
And, you know, he delivers it, and he decides that he's done and he can leave town before the moon falls. And he gives you his hat, his postman's hat.
And if y'all remember how to get the bomb mask, the blast mask, then y'all know where this is going. We finally know where Sakon of the West Gate is going. He went to the East Gate, actually. He's trying to trick you, dude. And he went all the way up the Stone Tower, up into the Icona area anyway. and he's going into his hideout. And you and Cafe, you gotta play Secret Agent Man. And you gotta sneak in there and take back the sun mask.
Yeah, so, yeah, you enter his dungeon, and you find out it's got 2 different paths, and each of you has got to go down one path, so kind of a weird thing where you get to control both Link and Cafe through that whole thing. So, you push some blocks as Cafe, whereas you fight enemies with Link, in order to finally get the end and get back, essentially like a wedding ceremony mask. Because for some reason in Termina they like each make masks and then combine them and that somehow gets to the couple's mask. I guess it's magic, dude.
And I'd just like to point out, you would think that before she was depressed, you know, the bubbly redhead would have the sun's mask. But no, she's the one that made the moon's mask. Cafe made the sun's mask.
Yeah, so you finally get back the sun's mask for Cafe, and Cafe takes off. Well, since you return the pen and the memories to Anju, she decides...
Much like Scott Pilgrim, he disappears for a while.
She decides to wait in the employee room at the Stockpot Inn. And then finally, an hour from the end of the end of the world, Cafe shows up. And they reunite with each other in a very sweet scene. And they give each other their masks, which creates the couple's mask, and they give it to Link.
And for some reason they decided they didn't need the symbol of their love anymore, and they gave it to Link.
So, yeah, so you go around and you just solve plenty of people's problems. And you collect all these masks.
We already went over how you get the 3 transformation masks, so that's all stuff for completion. I went over how to get the Song of Healing.
Mm-hmm.
I went over how to get the Song of Storms.
Yep.
The Song of Soaring is literally just up on a cliff top after you talk to the owl again.
Yep.
Those are really all the songs you really need for completion besides like the color ones.
Yep, you get Epona's song when you finally have access to the powder keg. On the first day you can go and blow up the rock.
Which brings us to our next side quest.
And when you enter it, Romani will tell you that there are... Or, what is it? Romani's little sister. Malin?
Yeah, basically.
Is it still Malin?
It's basically.
Or, no, I think her name is Romani, and then it's Romani's big sister, but I can't remember what her name is. Anyway.
You get the point.
She'll tell you that there are going to be aliens attacking tonight.
Which they're actually yokai, and in an interview in the 2000s, they talked about how it was based off Japanese folklore about spirits.
So, she allows you to use Epona, and it teaches you Epona's song, and you go around and you shoot some balloons to prove that you can do it.
Balloons shaped like the spirits that are coming, and she was completely right on with their design.
Oh yeah. So, yeah, you come back at like 1:30 in the morning, and I believe it starts at like 2. And then you just have to keep shooting them with arrows as they approach the barn.
Make sure not to slow down time before this, because you will be going from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m.
Yeah, it does take a little while if time slowed down, but you gotta be quick when it's not, because sometimes they will come out quickly and they will be right there. And you don't want to miss your chance because, you know...
It only takes one to end it.
Yep, if one of them makes it, then they will abduct all the cows and Romani. And she will come back, well...
Traumatized.
Yeah, totally traumatized. Who knows what they did to her in there.
If you don't go around solving problems, literally everyone's traumatized.
Yeah, this is a game where, one person goes around and solves a lot of problems. But doing so will also grant you the trust of her older sister, where she will allow you to travel with her to town the night of the second day at 6 o'clock. And someone blocks off the road as you're on your way to deliver some milk to town, so you have to go through the back country, where two thieves, we all know they're the Gorman brothers.
They look like the Gorman brothers. It's the Gorman brothers' horses. They're wearing the Garo mask.
Yeah, they will attempt to rob the milk, so it's up to Link to shoot arrows at them in order to keep them at bay.
And it works.
And doing so, she will give you the Romani's mask to prove that you are a man for help and protect her. So now you can enter the milk bar.
Which brings us up to our next side quest. The circus leader's mask.
So in there's what is he, a composer?
Yeah, he's the manager and composer for the Lulu's band.
Yeah, you talk
the
to him. The
Indiegogo's.
So you just talk to him with, your various transformation masks and stand in certain spotlights to play certain tunes to make this song that really doesn't sound like a whole lot to me, but
he thinks it's beautiful, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
But this makes Ingo. Is it Ingo in this one? I'm just gonna assume it is, which makes Ingo cry and get emotional because he recognizes the song, even though the whole time he's like, that noise, and he will give you the troop leader's mask for having done it.
Yeah. And now we go back to what the dog doing. After you hear the story about what the dog doing, we have to return ourselves back to Romani Ranch and go in the chicken pen. We gotta use the Bremen mask and collect all the chicks in the same fashion that what the dog was been doing. And once we do that, after you collect all 10 of them, they all grow into full cacos, and they have a synchronized cacao, not unlike the synchronized objections that you get in Ace Attorney. And then the guy who calls you disgusting in Ocarina of Time will say it's beautiful and give you the bunny hood.
Yeah, he will say that he feels like his life is complete and he got to watch his chicks mature into full cacos.
Which we talked about how to get the couples mask, but instead of doing the couples mask in the cafe's quest, you can opt to do the postman route of the cafe quest, which results in the postman's hat.
Yeah, we went over that earlier.
Well, you didn't explain how to get the postman's hat, you just explained the letter to Mama.
Yeah, you take the letter to Mama, to the postman, at the night of the final day, when everything's going to crap. And, once it finally starts the countdown timer, he's kind of freaking out on the floor because he doesn't want to give up on his job duties, but he also knows he needs to leave town because the moon's getting close. And that's when he can feel out the letter.
I can feel it. You want to know what I'm feeling? Yes! I'm feeling like a total barnacle head!
That has not been delivered. So you give him the letter and he decides that he's going to deliver it. And once he does that, he comes out, he says he feels like his job is finally complete because the last letter has been delivered. Gives you the postman's hat and runs out the gate.
So what other side quests did we not talk about? Because we didn't talk about the Danjiro mask yet.
We didn't talk about the Mask of Truth either.
Are those the only two?
I think so.
Because we talked about the Great Fairy's mask.
Yep.
To get Danjiro's mask, you have to travel back to Snowhead, and in the Goron City portion of this place, you have to light all the torches, you have to do a torch run. Yeah, it's in Goron instead of Zora this time. Don't worry, there's still a torch run in Zora for you to do. And once you do that, you can get the big chandelier in the middle spinning around. You hit the right chandelier with your Goron abilities after ramping off the ramp, and boom, a rock swordline falls out. Now back towards the mountain village where the blacksmith lives. Right in front of his house, actually, there's a Goron freezing to death. and is super hungry. You give him the rock sirloin, he rolls down, and he gives you the Tanjiro mask as a thanks. The Mask of Truth is in the Swamp Spider house. There is 30 gold skull tools to collect, and well and behold, my man is cursed again. And there is a dog here. He's literally what the dog doing because he literally has no purpose. So you go in and you collect all 30 spiders. There's like 10 or 12 of them in the main room. There's like 5 or 6 of them in the room to the left. There's 5 or 6 of them in the room to the room to the right. And in the back should be your remaining. Because there's the gold room that has like 4 of them in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the wooden room that has like...
It was like, what was it?
The
like,
one room with the tree in it.
Yeah, there's a few in there. Yeah, so once you collect them all, you go back up, and the man will give you the mask.
Yep.
After he's been turned back from a spider. And then the blast mask.
The blast mask, we briefly touched on this earlier. You have to stop Sakon in North Clocktown on the first day at midnight.
Yep. And once you do that, she'll give you the bomb lady will give you the mask. But then, if you go to the curiosity shop, you see, because Sakon will go to the curiosity shop and sell things. I don't remember what gets sold there if you don't stop him.
Pretty sure it's the bomb bag.
The bomb bag? Yeah, that makes sense. But if you do stop him, then for 500 rupees, you can go there and you can get the All Nights mask.
Now you can listen to those stories all night, bro.
Ah, yeah.
Even though Link doesn't sleep anyway.
Yeah, for some reason he falls asleep when listening to stories. And that should be all the masks.
All 24?
Yep, we've talked about all of them.
Alright. And that's everything that goes into completion.
Yeah, so now that we're finally through all that, it took us okay. So
Everyone in Termina, we're moving to quirks and fun things about the game. And everyone in Termina is essentially a doppelganger of people from Hyrule. Except their personalities are slightly different. And there's some added on things. Like the hand in the toilet. I really like that. He's like, paper please, I need to wipe my bum.
Oh yeah, that reminded me. We didn't mention the Chimera's mask.
Well, then we can do that real quick. After 2 a.m., any night, you can go out to the northern side of Termina Field and one of those ice platforms. They look like giant mushrooms covered in snow.
Mm-hmm.
And you can hop out there and you play the Song of Healing for him. He's a dancer. And when you do that, you unlock his mask and it allows you to dance like him. He's got his own special dance. So does Kazuma Q, but we don't talk about that.
Now that you would take back to the sisters who are standing outside of the what is it, the auction, not the lottery house, and they're trying to figure out some dance moves for what's essentially the same song. And so you teach it to them, and then they call you master.
Bon appetit, meowsters!
That's the second quirk I was going to talk about anyway. Keeping it within the same realm, the third quirk I found out is on the third day when you go to the samurai school, the big noble samurai who's going to take on everything, including the moon when it comes, is cowering behind his banner in the back of the school, talking about how the world's going to die.
Yeah, for the first time you can jump up onto that little section. Normally you can't. But in that little final stretch you can jump up there and you can like slice through or roll into the back of his thing. And it shatters and he's in there cowering away.
The banker stands on business though. The banker does not matter if the moon's about to fall. If it's 10 seconds away from falling, you are depositing that money into the bank.
Yeah. And then there's Tingle.
Cafe? Your cafe is here? Hey, Kalumpa! Would you like to buy my maps?
Yeah, he's a map maker. And he dresses up like well, what is essentially a coterie, I think. But he keeps calling himself a fairy boy.
Teleported
Yeah.
over there.
And you're a real fairy boy who came dressed in green, which kind of validated him.
Wait for my cafe.
And you have a real fairy, too.
Yeah.
He does not, on
You
the other
fucking
hand.
asshole.
If you talk to the
You
man who
pathetic
runs
little
the
scrub.
photo contest in the swamp, you find out that he's actually his father.
You'd be so pathetic.
And the man at the swamp just wants nothing but better for his 35-year-old son that won't stop acting like a child.
Except for the part on the moon.
Oh, what a life.
I'm a
And-
fan that can do backflips.
Back onto the moon topic for a second.
I'm back
All those
around,
kids
dude.
that are running around the moon, the models used for them are the Happy Mask Salesman, but shrank down to a child.
So
Yeah,
he
which is very
taller than the Zora.
interesting to say the least. What is up with the Happy Mask Salesman? I'm pretty sure he's some kind of
Just
demon from
imagine
another realm.
Andrew
Or is it
coming
cosmic
in here going,
entity?
"What the hell is
Something.
going on in my
Yeah.
Because he can see straight through
Timelines.
timelines and Link's transformation. Let's not forget, when you go and learn the Song of Healing, that is usually right after you rewound time. Now keep in mind, that puts you straight back at the start of the 3 days, right when you walked
all
out
in
of the
the
clock
kitchen,
tower.
because
So
you're
you
standing
turn
in the
around and
kitchen.
go back in there, and he's all angry that you didn't get back his mask. It's like, dude, I just walked out of here, and from your perspective, it really should have been like I just walked back in here and had my ocarina.
He knew exactly what you've been up to, though.
Yeah, but somehow he knew it. He was able to call you out on it, and he knew that you didn't get back his mask, which is very strange. He has 3 days, but 3 days over and over again, so I don't know what the heck that man is seeing. He is some kind of cosmic entity, or he is a demon of some kind.
Also, when we were talking about the blast mask, stop Sakon with your sword if you want the quest to go through, because if not, he's the only NPC you can kill. If you shoot him with an arrow, he explodes because he's carrying explosives.
Yeah, and at that point, you can't complete anything that has to do with Sakon. If you blow it up, you fail to get back the bomb bag, so you can't get the blast mask. And you can't do any of the cafe stuff because he's just gone.
Yeah, you can't access Sakon's hideout because he won't open it.
Yep, you have to totally restart.
Isn't there some things else you want to talk about?
I always think that it's kind of fun to do the races too, because when you first get to the mountain, the smithy, like the blacksmith, their whole thing is frozen. You can
Pretty
know
sure
it.
that's Midi-Goron. Oh, you mean the actual blacksmith?
Yeah, the blacksmiths. Yeah, it's all frozen, and of course, if you get the remains and you turn everything back to spring, it unfreezes. But if you unfreeze it, you can get the razor sword. But if you go up and you take a powder keg to the rock in the second area, then you can go to the Goron races. And if you do that in the spring, then you get to actually... Yeah, the races are fun, because like you got a horse race and a Goron race. And it's always frustrating because you have spikes and they don't. They can still hurt you or knock you out of your spike form, which can make it really difficult at times to complete.
Like he got knocked off the course like 4 times.
Yeah. Yeah, oh man.
You also want to touch on the credits.
The credits?
That's what you were saying last night. That you wanted
Yeah.
to touch on the credits.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this game is cool because the more problems you go around and solve, I'm
Well, I
pretty
know
sure
it's cool, but continue.
Yeah, the more you complete the Bomber's Notebook, the more stuff it adds into the credits. I could be wrong here. If I am wrong, definitely let me know. But I'm pretty sure, as you complete more and more, it adds different scenes to the credits. Which I think is a really cool kind of dynamic thing for the game. Especially, if Link doesn't know about certain things, because he simply didn't do those quests. Or, help the people that were in need. Then those things didn't remain. Although I do think it's kind of strange because, you're constantly resetting time, so how any of those things actually stood, who knows. But it seems like certain things may or may not stand.
Is that all you want to talk about for quirks?
Yeah, I think so. I can't really think of too many more. I can't really think of any more.
Well, there's only one thing I'd like to mention before we move on.
What's that?
There are patches of grass throughout Termina, specific patches of grass, and they hop around when you cut them. If you cut them all and in a lot of time while wearing the Keaton mask, an actual Keaton will show up, like a nine-tailed fox spirit. From that side of things, and he'll give you a quiz about everything that goes on in Terminal. You complete it, you'll get a heart piece, but like, you get to see the Kitsune. You get to see the real Kitsune.
Yeah, that's fair. I also like that if you look through the telescope and you watch the business scrub fly out of Clocktown, and you watch him fly around for a minute, he'll drop into a hole. And if you go to him, he'll be like, I can't believe you found my warehouse. And he'll offer you a heart piece for 150 rupees. But if you tell him no, he'll drop the price to 100 rupees. And that's pretty cool.
And the last thing we should talk about is, because this is something you said you want to talk about, the first 3 days differences when you're outside of Terminal.
Yeah, so when you're in Termina, when you're doing the first set of 3 days, there is actually one thing you can do to get yourself out of bounds.
You can run backwards against the guard and East Clocktown.
Yeah, you run backwards, and I guess because it's sloped, it allows you to pass right through them. The most incompetent guard ever. And so if you're running around outside, it seems like the first cycle is kind of coded a little bit differently. So you're running around outside, certain grottos won't appear. So the one over near the observatory won't appear, and the one on top of the pillar won't
by
appear.
Stone Tower won't
I don't
appear.
recall if the other ones appear either. I think they do, but there's no enemies in them. So in Termina Field specifically, enemies don't seem to spawn.
Yeah, you can go into the Dongo Grotto and the P-Hat Grotto, but there'll be nothing there. You'll have to leave.
Yeah, so it's just really kind of interesting that it's coded that way. And, the first day when you play the Song of Time is also the only day where it shows you kind of the replay of the beginning segment.
That, and in North Clocktown, it doesn't matter if the first 3 days or whenever, songs from Ocarina of Time will appear on the wall. And if you play them, you'll get rupees.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Alright. It took us 7.5 hours, but that's not going to be our conclusion. It took us 7.5 hours because we had to keep going back. I had to keep doing things because Mikey kept taking too long in different dungeons, kept messing up, or sensitivity issues, or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was not my finer moment. My finer moments when playing this. I made a ton of mistakes, and it wasn't always super easy.
But since this is a video on how fast can two links complete Majora's Mask, it took us 7.5 hours, but calculating for what would happen if everything went right, it'd probably take you about 4:45 to 5 hours to complete it with two links.
Yeah, you could definitely knock it back a bit, especially if you decide to forego getting all the masks.
No, even if you get all the masks, it'll still be complete by around 5 hours.
Yeah, that's fair. Because, there's definitely better ways to optimize the runs. Especially if you make sure you do certain things within certain days. It can be a little bit difficult because, you can't really move on to another section until the dungeon item is collected, i.e. the arrows, the fire arrows, the ice arrows, and the light arrows.
Yeah, but if you know what you're doing, you can get to the mini-boss room in like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, I spent way too long in Snowhead, and that just... I feel like it kind of destroyed the timing of our run just a little bit. If I had been more versed, I could have knocked that way back. So, yeah, somewhere between 4.5 to 5 hours is probably all you need if, you both know what you're doing in order to get all the masks and make your way to the boss.
And not doing the cafe quest 3 times.
Oh yeah, no, and that's one of the things that we probably should have mentioned with all the quartz. If you fail, at one of those important times,
it goes with the next section. Side quests.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I guess we kind of went over a lot of what we did, but there are a few things that we could still mention there.
Yeah, like what you're talking about right now.
But yeah, so you know, it took us a while to really complete it. And a lot of very frustrating moments.
The first time, all you had to do was push the middle block down, and you just completely destroyed the whole puzzle. You were like, man, I don't know what to do, and like, just push the block down.
I was thinking of terms and trying not to step on the red switches, but I completely... Because not all the blocks are pushable, I don't think. Or if they are, then...
They're only pushable in certain directions.
There it is.
But the middle one was able to be pushed down. That was the solution.
Yeah. Yeah, so I kind of botched that.
And then when I did it, he told me to run out in front of Sakon.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it was close enough for him to catch you. Because I know there's a distance where he won't do anything. Because when I did it the first time, I just ran straight past him. And I thought, when I looked over, I thought he had like just gotten there. So I was like, yeah, just run across. And I steered him wrong.
Yeah.
And that was my bad.
I was already trying to go to the moon at that point. We were behind.
Yeah, oh, I know.
I had already completed Stone Tower. How we can do better? I don't know. I think first off, we should start from the ground up. Meaning, let's not turn around in the middle of the tutorial.
Yeah, that was definitely a terrible moment to make a mistake like that first. And I feel like for me, that probably set my whole run.
Yeah, because then you missed Deku Playground, had to reset the cycle.
Yeah, I just kept messing up because the Deku Playground was supposed to be where we got one of our, heart pieces while, kind of waiting for the, to get to the next part.
And because you wanted to make that up so badly, you didn't go to Snowhead on time. And then spend an hour and a half in Snowhead.
No, I did go to Snowhead. Or I did go to the mountain on time. I just kept messing up when we got to the, when I was trying to go up and get the transformation mask.
And the hot spring water.
Yeah, and then, when I got the hot spring water and hopped down, I confused the entrances, which, I second-guessed myself, and I should have just continued forward.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have missed that. So, there was a lot of time that I spent redoing things that I had already done. And then, in Snowhead, that was just awful. I spent way too long in there.
He spent so long that I went in, not after getting the bunny hood, and I went in, matched his progress, and then got to the mini-boss before he did, and left with the fire arrow.
Yeah, definitely poor performance. Even though I had watched a video right beforehand on doing it.
So I had to make my way over to the ocean, but I needed the fire arrow to deal with any of that.
Yeah. Yeah, because the fire arrow came with getting the powder keg.
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't take overly long once I got into the other dungeon. The Great Bay Temple.
You took a long time on the second half of the dungeon. You didn't take that long getting the ice arrow.
Yeah, well, the ice arrow you get quickly. And, you kind of have to follow the piping around to get all the water.
You kept falling off the ice platforms because you wouldn't make one close enough.
Yeah, no, those ice platforms were messing with me. I had to keep swimming back over and remaking them. That was one of the times where I ended up spending the longest. And one of those times it, hopped just far and it wouldn't let me, not, hold it back either.
Because the original plan was you were going to do the ocean while I was doing side quests, but, you took so long in Snowhead, and the other times, by the time that you were done, I already had everything set up for the ocean, for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
Which should have been that time was for me to do the cafe quest.
Yeah, so, to do better on that, just don't have skill issues, like I did.
How we felt about it overall. It had its problems, but it went as well as it was going to no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely could have been faster, but yeah, we didn't do a poor job per se.
Because I did cleanup.
But, in the end, we were able to get all the masks. Although, one little quirk that we had was, when we were in the final boss, his screen totally froze, which meant I had to go and actually beat the boss.
Well, that's in the next section.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is just about how we feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was difficult in some parts.
Difficult for you.
Yeah.
You were having a mental conniption this whole time.
Yeah.
And then you're like beating yourself up in the middle, which made your performance worse.
Yeah, I was not having a great time with some of that. But, you know, if for some reason we ever decide that we're going to do it again, maybe we'll get a better time.
Probably will. Or you're still gonna have the same skill issue because you're gonna complain that you haven't played it in a while.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Overall, it was okay. We did add 2 hours onto the run we didn't need, but like I expected as much when we started playing, honestly. So it went just about as well as I expected it to.
Yeah, hopefully that means we'll do better in the next multiplayer thing.
Little things we noticed during this quest. Not everything syncs. Bottle contents don't sync for Majora's Mask Online.
No, I gotta hit them in the middle.
The game does freeze sometimes. Only quest items sync. Quest items, mass, magic meter.
Yeah. So...
Heart
And,
pieces.
yeah, heart pieces sync. But it seems like if one of you is on the moon and one of you is not, then things don't sync.
Well, I was on the moon, and I did end up getting the couple's mask. It was just delayed.
You didn't end up getting the couple's mask until I got to the moon.
That's fair.
Because really, it should have sunk, and we weren't having internet issues at the time. When I finally landed on the moon, then that's when you noticed that you had the couple's mask.
Because I was having a time fighting Majora. I had to use Zora Link, and I kept getting to the stage of the fight where he'd hit me with the laser, but if I didn't take the mask off real quick, Zoras are weak to fire, so I'd have to restart immediately. Hylians, on the other hand, are not as weak to fire.
Right.
So I was able to take damage and move on. But I had to keep doing that real quick, and animations got in the way, and then the stuttering happened, and it didn't take my input, and I got shot by a laser.
Yeah, so overall that was kind of a pain in the rear.
Mod Loader has a ways to go, but it works for its intended purpose.
Yeah, you can still get quite a lot out of it. And it's nice that, you know, if you do have some kind of issue, you can just reload your ROM and pretty much pick up where you left off.
Yeah. It's a fun thing. You should
Yeah.
definitely play it with your friends. It'll be a fun time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, another little quirk that I noticed is that if you don't have your sword because you gave it to the blacksmith or something, then, you know, as long as your partner still has a sword, it stays sunk, so you still have a sword. But it still works with all the prompting.
Yep.
So,
I barely made it. So
all in all, I think so. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think it's time to do our outro. Yep. That's how long it takes 2 Links to beat Majora's Mask. I'm gonna give it a solid 4 hours. It's definitely gonna probably get it done in 3.
Probably chop it.
But then you can make the first deity and you'll figure it out.
Depends on you.
And we're going to talk about what comes next, and then I'll finish my outro. What comes next is either going to be Twilight Princess or Wind Waker. We're leaning towards Wind Waker. 1, the application's going to be easier to set up. 2, it's better and viable for what has been set up for it. And 3, well, Wind Waker's fun.
Yeah, Wind Waker's a pretty good game. get this neat cartoony style on the GameCube.
We call that cell shaded.
And you get this cool story about, you know...
Story about a boy.
Story about a boy. As he sails around on the ocean to save his sister and eventually defeat, Ganon.
I'm hoping with 2 links I fall asleep less.
Yeah.
Because we gotta play the GameCube version, which means no speed sail, just trying to sail from one island to the next.
Yeah, no, without that speed sail, like, it certainly can be killer.
And that's what to look forward to. After that, we're going to be trying to get Twilight Princess Online to work, so we'll complete the trifecta. And then we'll look into, like, a Link to the Past and, like, a Link Between Worlds, or, like, Minish Cap, stuff like that.
Yeah, I wonder if any of those have multiplayer yet. If not, then maybe we'll just play them to play them.
Which, we will. Eventually we'll probably play most Nintendo titles. But as for multiplayer, if we run out of Zelda, we're definitely going to play Mario 64 multiplayer now that it's optimized better.
Oh yeah, no, they got a lot more for that. So that'll be fun to do.
And there's also randos we're going to be bringing to you.
Oh yeah.
OOT randos, Majora's Mask randos, Paper Mario randos, Mario 64 randos, OOT and Majora combined randos, Wind Waker randos, and if it's updated enough, Twilight Princess randos.
Yeah, so that all sounds like quite a lot of fun.
And we hope to see you together so we can continue playing Rule 10.
Let's all have
So
fun and play together.
And with that, I only asked you once before in this video, but this video is over an hour long, so in case you missed it before, because I know a lot of you like to skip through, just remember to blow a smoke ring at that subscribe button and give a like and a comment and tell us what's up. Tell us if you like our content or what else you'd like to see.
Yeah, we're open to suggestions, so if you have any ideas, we'll be glad to look into it. Or if you find something especially obscure, you know, we're open to it.
Yeah, we'll even check it out, too. With that being said, we've been Smoke Stashed, and subscribe to join the stash. We'll give you a Puff Puff Pass if you do.
Alrighty, and until next time.
Stay chilled. Bye-bye.